Welcome back to Focus Unleashed. This is the last episode of July, and as you can see, I'm in a different setting. I'm actually on vacation with the family, and we are watching the flag football championships. Anybody that knows me knows that me and my family are really big in flag football, so we took the opportunity to come up here and check it out and see all the great talent that's around. It's been a really, really good first 2 days. I only saw the second day, but that was pretty impressive. So enjoy myself, but still have to get the work in. So today we're going to focus on what comes after discipline. Expansion was the stretch, capacity was the strength, discipline was the protection. But none of it matters until you integrate it. Integration is the moment where your growth stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like identity. This episode is about becoming a person who can sustain success, not just reach it. I know for myself, that has always been the biggest issue. I can be successful, I can have successful moments, but I can't sustain it. And that is tied into what this month is all about. It's the expansion on the success that you create. And a lot of people, I think, don't understand that it takes more than just keep going, doing the things that got you there. It takes a lot more than just continuing on the path. You really have to focus on who you are presently and how that is going to grow as you expand. So this episode is all about integration, and we will talk about that when we come back. All right, we're back. Let's first jump into why integration matters. Expansion without integration is temporary. Capacity without integration is fragile. Discipline without integration is exhausted. Integration is the consolidation of everything you've built. It's the shift from I'm trying to be this person to I am this person. Integration is what makes your next level permanent. And as I mentioned um, in the intro, I don't think people have a problem creating success. Sustaining it is the biggest issue. Getting there, you are hyper focused, you are disciplined, you are consistent because you have the goal in front of you that you're chasing. Once you accomplish the first goal and you move on to another goal, you get so comfortable with the fact that you know what you're doing. And we forget that there's still a process. And we have to recommit to that process on a different level as we start to expand. We are changing as people as we move forward. And if we use the same things that got us to the first goal to try to move to the second goal, you have to understand that was a different person that moved from point A, point B to reach the first goal. You are a different person that's going to be moving towards the second goal. So you have to recommit and integrate everything that you've learned about yourself in your identity into this new identity as you move into working on sustaining success. I know that was my biggest problem. I always just reverted back to what helped me accomplish the first goal. I never said, who am I now? what has changed about me? How will I use what I've learned and how much I've grown to now become everything that I want to be? Because I'm no longer the person who is trying to be successful. I am a successful person. But how do I sustain that success? So when you think about integration, integration isn't about adding more. It's about alignment. It's about identity. It's about becoming. Integration is habits that feel natural, discipline that feels automatic, confidence that feels steady, identity that feels permanent. Integration is the proof that your transformation has stuck. And that is where I currently am. Discipline is automatic. Confidence, I don't waver in my confidence as I move towards reaching my second goal. I feel like I know exactly who I am, and the habits are natural now. They're a part of my everyday, they're a part of my identity, they're just a part of who I am. And that is a huge thing to understand about yourself as you move into expanding and trying to accomplish more things. If you don't feel comfortable, if things aren't natural, if you're not doing things automatically, that is a problem, because what you will do is always revert back to the comfort of an identity, which will then throw you off track. And that's been my problem for years and years and years. And understanding who I am now, understanding that I've grown, understanding that I am a person who can create success, but I want to be, and I am the person who can sustain it as long as I understand that everything that I have evolved into now is a part of me and not just something that I do. So, as I was thinking about integration in my own journey, I thought about what the signs were that I integrated to the next level. So, what I came up with is you will know you've integrated when you don't have to hype yourself up to stay consistent. Your habits feel like second nature. Your discipline feels like identity, not effort. Your confidence feels stable, not fragile. And your success feels natural, not forced. Integration is the moment where the growth feels normal. I can honestly say I've never been to this point. And it does feel natural. And it doesn't feel forced. I feel like I do everything that I need to do without even thinking about, is this going to get me to where I want to be? I'm very disciplined in that I know it takes a certain amount of things to keep me moving forward. It's not something that I have to fight myself on. It's not something that I have to think about. It's just things that I do. Even when I'm thinking about getting to the next goal, I don't waver in that. Is this possible? Can I do it? I know it's possible. I know I can do it. My confidence is very strong. This feels like a natural process. And that is empowering because I've never really felt it before. And I think if you can get to this point, you will understand the difference between being successful and the people who sustain success over long periods of time. But it does take work. It takes you really understanding who you are, and it really takes you being intentional on integrating everything that you have become into the expansion. So here's how you integrate your expansion capacity and discipline. Anchor it in identity. Integration happens when your actions match who you believe you are. Revisit your identity shift. Celebrate consistency, not just results. Integration is proven in the quiet reps, not the loud wins. Protect your environment. Integration requires spaces that reinforce your identity. Stack wins slowly. Integration is built through repetition, not rush. This is the essence of Stack Wins Friday. Trust the process. Integration is patience in motion. It's the waiting season becoming identity. And that is kind of how I feel like you integrate everything into where you currently are in the journey, moving towards that second goal. Anchoring in the identity, you really have to understand who you are at this point. You have changed. Anytime you do something consistently, you change. You go to the gym, you change. You work towards a promotion, you change. There's growth in everything that we do. You have to really come to terms and understand who you are. Celebrating consistency is something that I do for myself, but it's also something I do for my clients as a personal trainer. We don't just celebrate if they lost weight, if they hit a new PR. We celebrate the consistency of days. We celebrate every week. We celebrate PRs, not as if it's something that it's a one-time thing. It's every week because we're pushing to be better every single week. So that's something that I do for my clients, but it's also something I do for myself quietly. I take account of my wins. I take account of my discipline, and I really celebrate that each and every week. Protecting your environment is crucially important. You can't be in old environments and expect to continue to be successful. It's that struggle, that environment trying to pull you back to where you are, whether it be friends, family, even places that you have visited. If those places do not push you to continue to be better and they create comfort where you feel like you can just kind of relax and let loose and not keep pushing forward, that's not the environment you need to be around. Stack wins slowly. Stack Wins Friday is something that I came up with for my clients, but it's something that I use myself. Every week, I want to evaluate what I've done to move myself forward. It helps me be more accountable. It helps me celebrate when I do feel like I'm moving forward, but it tells me that each week is important. So find ways that you can celebrate the wins, even the small ones, and those stack slowly until you progress to your ultimate goal. Trust the process. Something that I should preach more and more to myself. It's something that I have found a lot of confidence in, trusting the process, even if it's not going exactly the way that I thought it would or as fast as I thought it would. I understand that by trusting it, it's going to get me there. I learned that by accomplishing my first goal. It's really giving me confidence to trust the process and continue moving forward because I know within that the identity of that successful person and the person who can sustain success is deep within that process. Like expansion, like discipline, like capacity, there's a truth about integration that you really, really need to understand. Integration feels quiet. It feels steady. It feels unremarkable. But that's the proof it's working. Because when success feels normal, you become the person who can sustain it. Integration is the invisible shift that makes your next level permanent. So it's not a loud process. It's not something that is going to make you feel like everything is going to work out, but it does give you the calm in the process to say, hey, this is becoming very normal. The success that I am gaining is not something that's hit and miss. It's becoming an every week thing. And that success is being disciplined, being consistent, and being relentlessly focused. So as you continue to do that, that builds on the success. And if you can sustain that, then success is always sustainable. And that makes you moving into the next goals, the next phase of your life, very, very permanent. But there's a flip side to that. Integration separates you. Not because you're trying to stand apart, but because you become someone different. You'll notice old habits don't fit anymore. Old environments don't feel right anymore. Old identities don't align anymore. This separation isn't loss. It's confirmation. It's the loneliness of becoming someone new. And it's necessary. As I said before, I felt this back in June when I went through the waiting season. I changed a lot. I've been more disciplined than I've ever been in my entire life. In the first 6 months of the year, I accomplished more than anything I've ever accomplished in the first 6 months of the year. And I became a different person within that 6 months. That was very different. That was very lonely because it wasn't something that I had ever experienced before. And it felt like I was leaving a part of me behind. Not necessarily a bad version of me, but a version of me that felt very comfortable, that I knew. And this new version of me, I didn't really understand. It felt really good, but it was hard. It's hard to explain to people. And I'm not sure that anybody else was going through it. So it's hard to kind of compare notes and get feedback and try to understand it. So it's very important for me to go through that waiting season in June so that I could then expand in July. And what I'm finding is old habits don't fit anymore. Old environments don't feel right. Old identities don't align. I am no longer the person I was January 1st. And I can say that 100%. I'm not the person who procrastinated. I'm not the person who wasn't confident. I'm not the person who wasn't able to be relentlessly focused. I'm a totally different person now. And through that process and understanding those things are going to be different, it can be kind of lonely. But that loneliness is necessary for you to really dive in to the identity that you currently have as you keep building it towards the person you want to become. It takes time to really understand the changes. It takes time to understand who you are, but it's necessary. So expansion stretched you. Capacity strengthened you. Discipline stabilizes you. Now integration makes it permanent. This is the moment where your growth stops being temporary. This is a moment where your success stops being fragile. This is the moment where you stop trying and start being. You don't just reach it, you just don't hold it. You don't just protect it, you become it. This is the integration phase. This is the close of July. This is proof you're ready for the next chapter. We're over the 6-month mark. We're heading into the last half of the year. There is still plenty of time to accomplish goals. There's still plenty of time to expand on that identity and expand on that success that you've had in the first half of the year. But it takes integrating a lot of the pieces that got you here and understanding that there's change in those elements of who you are currently and who you will become. Life is always creating opportunities to be successful. But if we don't identify who we are currently and understand how we've changed through the process of getting here, then it will be hard to move forward because we will try to use old tactics, old habits to try to push to new levels. And that is very, very hard to do. So this is the month of expansion. We're going to integrate everything that we have learned about ourselves into this new phase as we move into the second half of the year, so that we can not only create more success, we can sustain it. As always, stay focused and be ready to unleash it.